episode of Chatty Broads with Becca and Jess.
Oh, come here, baby.
Whoa. How sexual.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Sometimes it be like that. You know?
Sometimes it be like that for sure. Cracking into a nice cool one on a Friday morning. The bros are in. The broads are in.
It's just like, it's kind of like the perfect kiss, you know, that first sip of beer.
It's the perfect kiss. The lips are soft.
That's how Beck and I are always cringing on the way people kiss in the show because I always like zoom in on it.
It's very intimate. Like kissing is one of those things. It's almost like dancing. But it's like some people look really good kissing, and then some people it definitely looks like it's not the most natural situation in the world.
No. And some people are just way too eager about it, and you really just got to like
Have you ever
treat it like it's that first sip of beer, you know?
Have you ever seen like a video of you kissing?
I'm not interested in that.
But that's what I'm saying. So maybe we are awkward when we kiss, but we don't. It doesn't feel that way.
I just know the vibe of when I'm kissing.
Yeah, but they could be feeling that too. The awkward ones could feel like I'm vibing.
Never have an awkward kiss. I don't know what that's like.
Hey, listen, I've always had the swagger.
I've always just absolutely killed it.
When I was 12 years old with little Susie, easy.
Just, you know, truth or dare.
Blew their minds. They wanted to date me.
Dare. I'm not worried.
I'm not scared. I ain't scared of no ghost.
Go ahead. Say it. Dare me.
Dare me. Were you ever nervous like when you were younger to kiss?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Like shaking.
Yeah. Dude, remember that feeling of being like 16 and having a crush, or like 15 and having a crush? It was like
it was electric,
encompassing.
It was the only thing that mattered. For all the things that should have mattered at that age, nothing else mattered.
Like if someone gave you that look and you're like, oh, I think they might like me and I think they're cute. And it's like you would do anything to keep that going.
That's the shit that I always think of, like that I think is funny about movies is like when they have mundane love stories, when like the world is ending.
Right.
And they're like, are we really focusing on this? It's like, you know, you would be.
Oh, interesting.
You know, you'd still be trying to get it, even if the world is like collapsing around you.
The stress of like your life is on the line. Do you think you'd even have the bandwidth to be like, oh, we have a fling going on while the zombies are tearing your house down?
More than ever.
See, I always think about that. I always think like it's romantic to think that you would be like focused on holding each other at the end, or would you just be terrified that zombies are going to rip your flesh apart?
No, I'd still get like I'd be like taking cover, like, you know, like maybe we're like fortifying some like ranty little shack that we're in.
Yeah, and
I'd still probably like catch a whiff of a scent, or like, you know, just be like take pause and just like look at like from behind while they're just building like a little. And closing the window, and then, you know, it'd be like, what? It'd be like, world ending, but like still hot. Doesn't change the fact that you're still hot.
Hey, you're hot. The orcs are coming.
Here we are, all alone in this little rundown shack, and the world is caving in on us. The whole world army of zombies.
So you'd be trying to pull like some smooth shit.
Be like, I'm just pointing out that it's just us,
and that we should probably see if there's something here, because like if the end is here, we might as well hook up,
you know. And like if it's good, maybe that'll like fuel us to keep living, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I was ready to give up, but like now that I see,
maybe now, well, no, I don't want to sound, you don't want to sound desperate.
Okay, sorry.
You are the last man alive that's not a zombie.
That is true.
Like,
you don't have definitely play coy.
You don't, exactly.
But it's like time is of the essence, so it's a real dance.
Well, and that's where this might be an example where like you can really invest in the slow game because there's not much other competition. So you don't have to, because the slow game always has that consequence of like, what if someone else gets there while you're just...
Yeah, but the slow game has the other consequence of the zombies are going to rip your flesh apart. So let's say you have 10 minutes before the zombies.
Well, that's why you got to make your move, you know?
So you can't play it slow. You got to be like right for it.
I guess.
Hello, can we have apocalyptic
Hello.
sex.
I would like to take this time to point out the fact.
The fact that we are going to die. So we could either die sexless or have had sex. Seems to me that have had sex is a better option. So do you choose A or B?
That's like if a plane's crashing. You just be like, this plane's going down. Quick, take your pants off.
Well, oh, dude. Yeah, there is like certain like imminent danger where if the zombies come, you might be able to get away. You might be able to like distract them, whatever. But like the plane going down or stuff like that, it's like pretty much just there's no option. So would you just be like, oh my gosh, and like, and everything's on fire, and you're just like, hey, yo, you looking pretty good, actually.
Be like, we could go down freaking out.
Or we could go down on each other.
The choice seems simple to me.
I mean, listen, everyone else is freaking out. I'm chilling.
If it was
I've
on
had 14
paper,
cocktails
if you
on
had,
this flight.
okay, we're gonna do it as like multiple choice test.
And it's like you have this on a board, and you're like, listen, here is the breakdown that I think we should talk about.
Thank you, Circle of Corporate Executives, for joining me here today. This is the presentation.
I think we all should hook up with each other.
Discuss.
I think we all have a lot of sexual tension, clearly from just the last couple of years of working together.
This is
I think that we're in a bit of a time crunch here.
I'm picturing like Boeing having like a company-wide HR meeting about someone's problematic presentation of like plane safety, and this is what they brought up.
Yeah. And they're like, hey, so if you are on an aircraft and it does end up having catastrophic failure, instead of focus on saving the patrons, I would focus on if you do have chemistry with someone to capitalize on that chemistry due to the nature of you won't have another option.
The question you might all be asking yourselves is, after you firmly secure the face mask over yourself first, because you need to help yourself before you can help others, you may be wondering, why does my armrest flip up?
Oh, interesting.
Interesting that it always has that, isn't it?
That is in case you
Some
need
think
to connect with
Some
someone.
think it's just because in case you get a roadie yourself. It's not.
It's in case of apocalyptic hookups.
It's in case of apocalyptic hookups, and you don't need that armrest is a problem.
Well, yeah, I mean,
just pointing it out.
Yeah, this is just the real hard-hitting facts.
So,
speaking of planes, we flew on planes this week.
We did. We both flew on planes this week.
How was your plane experience?
My plane experience was positive. I watched, I was on Delta for the first time in a long time.
Ditto.
And
I only fly Delta if I have a choice.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I was very impressed with the in-house entertainment system.
Delta's got 100 movies.
So I watched the new, what the fuck is it called? The new Tom Cruise.
Maverick?
Yes.
Oh.
That one. I watched the new one. I cried like 5 times in it.
Really?
I haven't even finished it yet. I didn't.
Wow.
My plane wasn't long enough to finish it, but I cried a lot, which I was really surprised by.
Like you cried?
They fucked me up, dude.
Wow. Now, were you a big fan of the original?
Not like a massive fan of the original at all, but part of it was just the story that it is Goose's son and the whole relationship they show between him and Goose's dad, and then like the guilt he feels.
Yeah.
I was just like, man, that one was really getting me.
I felt emotion with the Val Kilmer.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I felt the emotion.
Did you see his documentary?
No, but I heard about it later. But actually, that he actually does have throat cancer and stuff. And I was like, whoa.
So we watched that documentary.
So then it made
that
it much
was also
more
coming
emotional.
up for me as I was watching it, and then it was like gnarly when he dies in the movie.
Yeah,
you know, and you're just like, man. And at the time he dies, it's like Maverick really doesn't need that.
Right.
And then the love interest and her daughter and like all of this just like stuff. It was like, it was really getting to me.
That's beautiful.
Top Gun
Maverick.
Yeah.
Well, I got upgraded to first class.
Lucky on a long flight.
On a flight to Atlanta. And I'm not someone who would pay for first class. Like I wouldn't be like out there going, oh yeah, I'm just gonna buy a first class ticket. It's extremely expensive. I couldn't afford it. But and I only got it one way. So I didn't get it the way there, I got it the way back. For all of you that have ever flown first class in your life, it is
The best.
A completely different experience. Like
It's the best.
like on the way there, I flew economy like I always do, and I'm 6 basically 2, and my knees are smashed in front of me as it stands, and that guy in front of me just immediately reclines, which, if I'm being honest with you, I think is a cardinal sin.
I don't think they should let the seat recline.
If you recline, I have an immediate rage where I just want to go, because my legs are long. I just eat my knee's injured too. You know what I mean? So it just was like, like he just went,
So did you use that? Is that how you got upgraded?
Gosh. And I'm not I don't get angry. That was one of the first times in a long time I almost like yelled at him. Because it was just so like, personally, if you have someone behind you, that recline takes already a very claustrophobic experience and just basically puts you in an MRI. It's literally the most and you can't sleep when you're over 6 feet. You can't sleep on a plane because you're too tall. So you can't do the thing where you kind of slouch and then lean back. You're too tall, so your head is falling already, so you can't sleep.
You need to have you ever messed with the neck pillow?
It doesn't really do it. It's really hard.
You wear it backwards.
Okay,
and
so
the thing's under your chin.
Yes, I'm sure there's ways of pulling it off, but just as it stands, it's very hard. And so this guy did this, and I almost just raged out.
Mm-hmm.
But on the way back, through the client I was working for, got a first class ticket, so it worked out. And man, it's not even close. But I don't recommend it if you're not like someone who has the money to buy it, like myself, because now
don't just go for it.
Well, no, but what I'm saying is now I'm screwed. Because the idea of now going back to economy is just devastating.
You're done.
Because it's I had all the legroom in the world. My seat reclines all the way. I'm getting the food and the champagne and I'm sitting there and it's just this is a completely different. I loved my flight. I slept half the time. I watched a movie. I got work done. I'm dude, this is unbelievable. That's how they get you.
I always check the price difference
to see if for some weird reason,
sometimes
it's $100 more.
Sometimes it is only $100 more. Yes.
Because I looked after this and it was like a $1,500 more.
It's never a flight you want it to be on.
Yeah, it's never you to London. It's always
an hour and a half long. You're is it really worth it? And then you're it's only $100. When else can I afford to fly first class? And then it's totally worth it.
If it was $100 more,
it's always worth it, because then if you can spare the $100 extra and you just get to recline,
the experience is amazing.
You never feel guilty. You don't ever have to feel guilty about reclining your seat there.
No.
And when you do, you're legs, you need an ottoman.
Oh, for the taller people, I will say, it felt this is the way flying should be. It shouldn't be horrific.
It's not my fault that I have first class standards for my flight experience.
Well, and it's now that all the flying, I want to be leaving in a week and a half or so for a while, and then just knowing I'm gonna have to go back to how I've always been. It's just okay, cram my legs in there and survive.
The truth is, we all have that in us. We all have a little first class desire in us.
Well, we all have first class desire, but what I will say is more even than desire, it's just more of the comfort.
I think that on every flight, they should do a random selection process for everyone who's in economy to sit in the available seats in first class.
Well, they do have that a lot, which is
they never just randomly upgrade people though, unless the flight's overbooked and they do some weird shit.
That's what happened on the first flight. So the first flight I went on, excuse me, it was sold out. But a couple of people didn't show up in first class, so the people put their names in the waiting list, and if you were at the top of the waiting list, you got upgraded. So these random 2 people sitting close by me just got pushed right to first class, and I was just what?
So I think that they should do, regardless of if the flight's sold out or not, I think if there's available seats in first class, they should do a random lottery poll of oh, congratulations, we have 3 seats available in first class. We're going to randomly pull names from the list of passengers on the flight in economy right now. But then
I wonder if that gets the people who paid for the tickets angry because you're
Fuck them! You're guaranteed in first class, you're guaranteed to have a fine experience. You have literally an 18-inch wide or a 24-inch wide armrest.
that you can put drinks on.
Yeah, there's no like invading each other's space.
Yeah.
You can fill up every
And
seat.
the wealthy business people are like, oh, why are you here? And I'm like, hey, how's it going?
Do you ever wonder what
I'm excited to be here.
Do you ever wonder what people's jobs are when you get on the plane and you see them all in first class and you're like, how are you in first class?
Did you ever see it gets really eclectic.
What the fuck?
Because there'll be like three business.
What does that guy do? How are you sitting in first class?
Well, you'll see like three people in like business suits. And they're like very official. And you're like, okay, that looks like, they're probably like execs and stuff like that. And then there'll be this like random 18-year-old kid in a hoodie. And you're like, what is that kid doing up here?
Yeah, are you
some
a DJ?
Crypto kid? Yeah. It was funny looking around.
Who's your mom?
Yeah, no, because it was funny looking around because I'm like, I shouldn't be here. Like, I didn't pay for this and I don't have the money to buy this. And I was looking around and there was definitely like a couple like really young people up, just like sitting in first class, and I was just like
flexing, just sitting in first class.
I was like, what is the deal with these guys?
And did you board early so everyone has to walk past you?
So that you get adoration?
I think that's such a douche move that the airplanes have you do that. I don't want to board first. I would rather board last if I was in first class.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing because you get settled and then what's better, waiting on the plane or waiting in the lobby? I guess waiting in the plane because you're in a nice seat and you're settled versus sitting in like one of the chairs in the airport. I guess if you had to choose, right? Because you can still board last. Dude, if you have the option to board first, you can still board last.
Becca has this really funny... Becca was with me when this is when I almost raged out on someone on a plane. We were sitting first class and some guy...
where was this?
I can't remember what flight we were on, but some guy... was behind me and I stopped to put my luggage in the overhead compartment and he's like, no, he's like, that's my space. Like that's over my seat.
Because you put it.
It was in the first class luggage overhead thing.
But you were sitting in first class.
I hadn't sat down yet.
Oh, he thought you were just
taking the open.
He thought you were an economy flight person.
Taking the open thing.
So he had it in his mind that he got one look at you and thought, you're an economy person. He
was like, that's my seat. And I was just like, okay. And he's like, you can't take my luggage. And I was like, dude, that is literally not how that works. You don't just snipe like the one right up front. You got to like go see if, they kind of plan it so that there's like...
And then if there is something
it's like
in first class...
It's like an unspoken thing, I guess. Right. But I was right next to...
He saw your leopard shorts and he was like, there's no way this guy's in first class.
And he moved my shit. And I literally, like, it was like that thing of Becca was just like
she saw the rage,
and I just like sat down in my seat, and the dude was like,
yeah, that feels
good. I told Becca like numerous times, I was like I'm trying so fucking hard, like the whole flight,
to freak out on
the whole flight. I was like the stewardess came, like there was a thing where it was just like he made a scene, and I was like it happened really fast, and Becca just saw me like my whole body like tensed up, and I was like, I'm about to lay into this, dude. I'm about to lay into it pretty damn good in front of a lot of people right now.
Okay, broads, quick pause from the bros. I don't know about you all, but the best part about fall for me as a kid, or one of the best parts, was back to school shopping. Fresh shoes on the playground made you feel unstoppable, okay? Anyway, I've carried that energy with me into adulthood, and now every September, I just sort of feel like I should get a little treat, change up my wardrobe. However, I also know that buying a new outfit just because it's September isn't exactly friendly for my wallet or the planet, which is why I'm using Nuuly, a clothing subscription rental service that lets me keep my closet updated without having to buy a bunch of new pieces.
For just $88 a month, Nuuly gives you access to thousands of styles from more than 300 brands. Literally whatever holes you have in your closet, there are a lot of pieces for Nuuly to fill them. I mean, what's fun too is you can get statement pieces, like it's winter, you can get a really fun statement patchwork coat or something to rent that maybe you don't want to drop hundreds of dollars on. You can just wear it for a few weeks. Party dresses, one-of-a-kind vintage, even maternity. Loved Nuuly when I was pregnant with Frank. It was the best.
And like you said, those holiday dresses, the party dresses. Come on.
You get to choose 6 each month, and if you fall in love with a piece and you want to make it yours forever, you get the option to purchase it at a discount for sometimes even as much as 70% off.
Thanks to Nuuly, you can keep your wardrobe feeling fresh each month and participate in whatever trends your heart desires. Honestly, I know for myself, I always feel a different energy every month about the style choices that I want. Sometimes I want to have this vibe or another. With Nuuly, you're able to you can be whoever you want to be month to month. Okay, Nuuly will take care of it for you.
Yep, the dress that I wore for the wedding thing, that was rented. Baby, love Nuuly. A great value at $88 a month for any 6 styles, but right now you can get $10 off your first month of Nuuly when you sign up with code CHATTY10. So just go to NUULY.com. That's Nuuly with 2 U's, and you can enter code CHATTY10 to sign up and get $10 off your first month. That's NUULY.com. Nuuly with 2 U's with code CHATTY10. Nuuly subscription clothing rental. Change your clothes.
Now I'm back to the, my normal ways of economy whenever I fly, and it's like I'm gonna be a little bitter because I felt like I tasted the good life there for a second.
I am someone. So, do you order drinks and stuff when you're on a plane?
It depends on the length.
I'm not really. I'm like half the time I pass up.
Yeah, I did. Like I didn't order drinks on either of these flights, but like they were both morning flights. But like I would say that if I was flying home at 5 p.m., I might order myself a little gin and tonic.
I can see that. My brother told me, my brother's an airplane engineer.
Oh, okay.
Mechanic. He said, don't ever order coffee on an airplane.
Why is that?
No one cleans the coffee pot.
Oh.
So the coffee pot is like the grossest, dirtiest thing on the aircraft. And it's like rarely ever cleaned out, if ever. And he was like, don't ever order coffee on the airplane.
Oh, wow.
That's what he told me.
So get Starbucks.
I've done it quite a few times.
Oh, I get coffee every time.
He said, don't ever do it.
There's never been a flight I've ever taken where I didn't drink 2 cups of coffee.
Now I'll get tea.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he just told me don't.
But I guess what's in a coffee pot? Like water and coffee.
He just said they don't ever clean it. When they come switch a
So is
plane,
it a
they don't
mold
ever.
thing,
They
I
just
guess?
keep remaking the coffee, which sort of begs the question of like, if it's always being made, does it ever get dirty?
That's kind of what I'm getting at. If it's water and beans, it's not like you're putting meat in there.
It's sort of like, think about, you don't wash your cereal bowl out when you decide to have a second bowl back to back.
Right.
So if you do that eternally, does it ever actually get dirty?
What is dirty?
If it's always in use, is it ever actually dirty?
This is some real hard-hitting journalism here. We need to get to the bottom of this.
I'm sorry if I'm making you uncomfortable with how difficult with thinking about this, but
no,
we don't have to arrive at a conclusion right now.
We don't have to, and this is kind of why life is so interesting. These are the questions that we need to get to the bottom of.
The longer you live life, deep questions like this start to plague you, because the longer you have to contemplate them. And the truth is, the answer is elusive. It's very difficult to arrive at a fixed conclusion.
Well, it's a really interesting question in regards to nice things, because it's like, let's say, you splurge on something nice. Now, let's say anything, buy yourself a nice outfit, right? And you spend, let's say, way more than you normally do. And you just go, oh, forget it. I'm just going for it. And you buy the really nice outfit. Well, then you put the outfit on and the cloth feels really good. The fit is amazing. And then you go back to your normal outfits and you're like, they don't feel the same. So there is this thing of like, getting a nice thing can kind of mess you up. So I feel like this first class upgrade I got is broken my brain now.
I don't like to have nice things.
Because of that reason.
I am terrible at taking care of them. So I remember I got into a thing with Becca. She tried to get me to splurge and buy like $100 shirt.
Like a t-shirt?
No, it was a button down.
Like a nice
And I was
shirt.
like, are you insane? I was like, there is nothing.
You're like, this is going to get ketchup on it day one.
Yes. I need like a full body bib. I actually thought about this as a business concept, which I could explain in a little bit. But the argument
which
that I made
Shark Tank later.
was shortly. The argument I made was like, A, I'll ruin it. B, nothing else I own is equivalent to this
right,
shirt.
so I'll have the $100 shirt and the $10 pants. And so
I don't have anything to build around it. I'm going to have to buy an entire outfit.
You'll have to do the nice
shoes,
shoes, now the nice pants.
And then I'll just be some clown with one nice casual outfit.
And then you'll look like a poser.
Exactly. And I'll never mix and match it. I'll just always wear those things together.
Yeah, like I don't have any nice clothes. All my clothes are like cheap.
You see people when they're like, they are wearing designer frump You know?
Oh, like designer that's
Like,
supposed to look like it's not nice.
Designer, I'm a piece of shit look.
Right. Like sloven, like you mean like clothes that look cheap.
Vibe, but designer.
Right. Well, even just
your
the other day.
vibe, but designer.
Right.
Just slob. Slob
I'm
vibe.
a slob king right now.
Like when people have on like a $700 sweatsuit and you're like,
it's just like, whoa.
It's still fucking sweatpants.
Someone gave me a designer hoodie the other day.
Stuff like that blows my mind.
Well, so it was like a hoodie, but
It's a
it was
nice
like
hoodie,
it's
though,
a nice
isn't
hoodie.
it?
It's probably a $200 hoodie.
You like it, don't you?
And I put it on. And I'm like, this is different.
It's very
like
different.
this hoodie is heavy. It's very nice. And I put it on all my other hoodies, and I'm like, this is not.
See, that's
the
where
same.
if you
it
smoke
messes
pot,
you up.
That's where if you smoked pot, you'd be like, ooh, I just want to do that and wear my hoodie with the hood on,
right.
and sit and be super clean,
cozy,
like super clean and comfy,
cozy.
like right out of the shower.
Yeah,
and you're just like in that in like super nice PJs. Like PJs when you get them for Christmas and they're like brand new.
But I'm afraid to wear nice things because I feel like I spill a lot. Jess knows this about me. I'm like a big spiller lately. Like I'll just knock wine glasses over like it's nothing.
This brings up my concept.
Okay, let's get into it real quick.
Which isn't a bib, it's a bib apron. So a cooking apron, but a cooking apron doesn't come up high enough because it only comes to here. So I want to adapt it by having a bib edition that covers you fully, like a barber's
an accessory,
like a barber's style one. But like this is something I can whip out like at dinners.
All right, you mean while you're eating?
Yes.
Yeah,
I need like full. Like I'm not kidding, like a barber style.
I feel like the only time this would be used is if you were like doing like a crab legs.
What's the blanket where you can like step inside the blanket?
Oh, the one that's like a blanket that has, it's like hoodie blanket.
That, but it's for food. But it could be cool, like an oiled canvas style bib apron.
Like a designer leather.
Yeah, like it's cool, but like people would think it's funny until they see how practical it is. And then you can wear really nice things.
I just think 99% of fashion is not practical.
But so I would have, I mean, this is the argument. This is the impractical argument for my invention, which is why I haven't donned it yet, is because I would only wear it if I was wearing really nice things underneath it. But because it's full body coverage, it defeats the point of wearing the really nice things.
That's kind of where I was feeling a little bit. Where
But
I was like, where fashion is impractical, right? It's just about a look. That's why like weird shoes and clothes and all this stuff doesn't make any sense. It just is a look. So if you're wearing a bib covering out your outfit, like you can only really wear this like at home.
Yeah, but my anxiety. This is how my anxiety is.
That's why me and you should just be wearing cheap
I wore
clothes.
white pants to this wedding.
And you're terrified the whole
I
day.
dressed up more than I've ever dressed up for cocktail attire, whatever that is. And I was terrified to sit down.
All it takes is
if I sit down, I'm going to get smudge on my butt, and then I'm going to be that idiot in white pants.
White pants is a bold
who
move.
decided to sit down.
Or just you're eating the fish, and then it just a little bit, boom, and then you have oil stain. So now you're literally just have oil pants.
Literally, you're talking about the example you splurge and buy nicer things for yourself. I bought a nice cocktail attire for my friend's wedding. And I didn't go bananas. I probably spent like $150 on my outfit. The pants were ended up from a Goodwill store my friend gave me. So I actually don't even think I didn't even spend that much money.
Right.
I made it the whole night without getting any stain. I had a white t-shirt, white and red, like mostly white overshirt, and white pants.
Dangerous.
Right when
You're
we get
a walking
home,
danger.
Right when we get home, he's making a quesadilla, but he took like a beet and kale salad and put it on like leftover and put it in with the cheese. I go to eat my quesadilla. Falls apart and beets just fall down the front of my shirt and down the front of the pants.
The whole thing's done.
It was like, at this point, it's like 3 a.m.
And the whole outfit's gone.
How the fuck?
So it just got done. You throw it away.
No, it's got some stain remover, but I was like, all things beets. I was like,
the worst thing.
I'm in a white outfit.
It's like red wine would have been the same. That's it.
I would have just like, dude, normally I wear darks. Like where it's just like, I don't care what I spill on this.
Right.
And it's like having a shitty car of like, I don't care if I ran into your
Doesn't
fence.
matter. Bang. Oh, whatever.
Whoops.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
The moment you have a nice, like you were going through this, like you're scared to drive it.
If you buy a nice car, it's terrifying. and you regret it immediately.
I don't want to do that to myself.
That's kind of generally like in my life. I just am like, if you buy nice things, everything's scary.
This is a thing. We're going back to like the justification that on like things like the first class ticket.
Yeah.
I will have no anxiety over how that money is being spent.
Because I guess nothing bad can happen.
I also don't buy anything nice for myself ever.
So you might find that you splurge on those things.
I can justify it.
It's like a nice hotel, or it's like splurging on experiences. It's kind of like
1,000%.
You know, but then I guess the argument could be made. You're spending a lot of money on something that's only going to last a couple hours. Versus clothes will last possibly years.
I'm not doing the like, oh, it's 700,000. It's like, it's not like I'm buying those
$7,000 ticket.
No. We're talking like I'm flying on an hour and a half flight and the ticket's $350. First class is $450.
Or well, that's like,
or like $475, and you're like,
should we kind of thing? Yeah.
Maybe on the way home.
Right.
What if we do it on the way home?
Right.
And you get that little experience, and that feels really nice.
Right.
One of my least favorite experiences is if I spend money on dinner and I didn't enjoy the dinner.
That's brutal. Because man, eating out is so expensive.
If I drop,
crazy.
If I'm on a date, like me and Becca are on a date, and I'm spending like, it's nice.
Yeah,
like
you spend
upwards of like $125, $150. And if I leave at that and I'm like,
it wasn't that good.
I would rather had In-N-Out.
Oh yeah, it's brutal. The service was bad.
I will never go back. That would be my reviews. Is I would rather have In-N-Out.
Dude,
that will be my reviews for nice places. Vespertine, I'd rather have In-N-Out.
Well, I think it's episode time.
What? You mean episodes time?
Episodes time.
Mm-hmm.
Episodes times.
Episode time.
Episode times. So, I mean, I think what do you think the best way to get into this is? Just go person
all
by
over the place.
Go guy by guy
as best we can.
Okay. So,
what I really want to talk about.
Yeah. What I love. So let's get into the first episode, where basically we get into, I guess the first date would be Eric's date with Gabby.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, that first experience was just amazing chemistry.
I think their whole date,
it was just amazing. Like, it was just amazing, the whole experience, and they did the jump together. And let's be real, doing something scary together is definitely a very bonding experience.
She wore the special swimsuit for him too.
They had to blur it out.
They had to blur out the whole thing.
So when you're getting blurred, that's a special swimsuit.
When she's blurring herself for you, right, you better feel fucking lucky, dude. And then what I remember though, when they were doing the jump thing, I was like, homie's going about this all wrong. He needs to just be like, come on, Gabby, like grab her by the hand and be like, we're running off jumping at the same time.
Right.
I'm scared too. Don't give her time to think about it. Just be like, we're going, and just fucking go. Instead, it was like, let me talk you through this.
I'm going to be like so gentle. He should have been more adventurous.
Because it's too much of a buildup.
Mm-hmm.
Was when you run and do it quick and like rip it off like a Band-Aid, then you go and do it again. That was my one critique for the date that we saw. Obviously later we learned new things. For what we saw, it was like phenomenal date. It made me like him, which was unfortunate.
Yeah, you don't want to like him.
I don't want to like him.
You don't want to like him.
There were multiple reasons that came up in this episode for why I don't want to like them. Namely, both fake holes in his jeans.
Okay, you're not a big fan of the fake holes.
I can't do it.
It's kind of, well, I would say
don't freaking cut holes in you. Don't buy broken jeans either.
Well, you sound like a boomer.
Don't spend more money for jeans that have holes.
You don't have to spend more money.
Someone took perfectly good pants
you sound
and then
like
cut
a boomer.
Giant holes in them, and now you're paying more money for it. I'm just pointing it out.
Hey, what's wrong? You sound like my grandpa. When I was like a teenager and I had holes in my jeans because I was like into rock and roll, I had holes in my jeans. And he'd be like, "What's wrong with your jeans? You couldn't get a new pair? What's wrong? Your dad can't buy you a new pair of jeans."
I don't care if you wore them in.
That was his. No, they were obviously bought with holes. I mean, that was. Let's just be real.
I would have judged you.
Yeah, I understand. But here's what I will say. I do feel like the holy jean thing is pretty out. Like it's been a long time since the holy jean thing was hot. So the fact that you're still wearing the holy jeans, we're judging you for that.
It's a fair judge.
But I think 10 years ago, holy jeans was fine.
I'm just saying.
Okay, so they have an amazing night.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell they're kind of giddy in the morning, having a good time. And he's tripping. He starts tripping out, which we're seeing more and more as people like with this fantasy suite thing just tripping out.
This is where the colors we saw episode 1
The possessive colors.
Come back. Exactly.
Tino and Eric were the two that said in early episodes, like, this is bullshit that they're talking to that guy right now.
And she told him, like, you just need to trust me.
Yeah.
And be patient.
Now, yeah. So we can either kind of go on to the new dates and then get back to the go back to the Eric thing, or we can just jump into the whole Eric thing in general.
We
just
could
go
do
person
it
by person.
Person by person entirely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we got amazing date. They obviously seemed like they were very happy in the morning and had a good time. So it seemed like everything was just cloud 10. You know what I mean? Like, amazing connection. They were
which
physical.
is one above cloud 9, everyone, which is supposedly an amazing cloud.
Yeah. So we're talking 10 cloud.
Yeah.
We know, which is it's first class.
It's cumulative nimbus or whatever it is, the big one.
Yeah. So amazing, right? And then he's tripping, right? So then he calls her, and this part bleeds into the episode 2. He calls her to, like, gives her like a sweet note. It's like a secret note.
I just need to see you. Yeah, just meet me on the bridge.
And so, you know, the debate here is, do you think that he wanted to just see her and then nervously brought it out because he just couldn't hold it in anymore? Or do you think he really just actually that's the reason why he wanted to talk to her?
No, because look, if he was it would have been sweet if he was like, look, like, I just really wanted to see you one last time, and like they let me sneak away to like see you, and
that's
like,
what he said at first.
And then he's
at first, remember, he goes,
and then
I
he's
had
like,
nothing to say. I just wanted to see you. And then 2 seconds later, he's like,
and she was really happy about it.
She was like, this is a great surprise.
And then he's like, actually, like I don't want to. It's not an ultimatum, but like the thought of you going to do that, like if you do that, like it's really hard for me. Like it's gonna make me really sad. And she was just like, what the fuck? Like, and then she starts dropping like, we're not going through this again. And it was like, okay, you tried to do this
on our fantasy suite night.
And she thought that she had like made herself clear, made her intentions clear, made the way she wanted to operate her journey clear, to clear her mind of all possible doubt so she could have a very firm decision and give everyone their due respect, because yours is not the only relationship. And it sounds like they spent some time making that abundantly clear. And now here he is taking that moment, taking her away from that to bring up these insecurities all over again, which she found highly unattractive.
I didn't like the fact that he did it on camera. That's what felt extremely manipulative and almost
that's
like
what
shaming.
She said, dude.
Because like if you talked about it in your own time, in the quiet, and you kind of made it a private, intimate conversation where you're like, hey, by the way, like I'm struggling. And she goes, I totally understand. Let's talk about it. For an hour they talk. Then he brings it up 24 hours later in front of the camera and makes it a whole thing. Meet me on the bridge, this whole thing.
You saw the deal break.
Well, you saw her go like, you're not who I thought you were a little bit, because I felt that's where an honest feeling no longer is an honest feeling and it becomes a manipulation. For that, up until that point, I felt like Eric was doing a great job. They had amazing chemistry. They did an amazing night together. He, in the privacy of their own place, talked about this. But to then rehash it again, it's where you're not trusting the process. You're also not trusting her. And then you're also putting like a weird pressure on her, almost like as if, and I don't know if this is the case, but almost as if like maybe if you feel the pressure with the eyes on you with the cameras, you'll cave into what I want more.
All I've said is,
and I didn't like that.
All I've said is this entire season, that's going to come back. We're going to see that attitude come back at some point or another.
Possessive.
And it furthers my point that no one needs to go out of their way, aka ballhead, to smear anyone, because they're going to do it themselves. And it might take a while, but it'll happen.
But at the same time, look at the end of the second episode. She's with Eric. So no, I disagree. I mean, you can still be not be the best guy and win.
Happen. It's gonna happen.
I know we're seeing the preview, but I'm just saying, like, okay, so Eric at the end of the day was doing amazing and then just shit the bed. You know, it was very, you know what it was? It was young. It felt young to me.
It was annoying.
It was just like, man, like, this is what you signed up for. Like, I know it's not traditional. I understand. But this is also not normal.
Welcome
This is a new
to the Bachelorette.
Right. You have
my
to
guy.
know this is how it goes.
And you knew it.
I like that she stood up for herself too. She did a great job of like being strong and saying, I know, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. She didn't do that. She just went, we already talked about this. You're pissing me off. Why are we talking about this again? You're going back on your word. Like those were all really, I feel like Gabby handled all the problems that went down with her in regards to like her situation. Everything, she was so level-headed.
I really like how she handled them. Okay, next. Who's our next guy?
I mean, we can get into Aven and Rachel.
I mean, what is there to say? Aven crushed it.
Crushed it.
Aven I have no critiques on. He's my choice. He's been my choice.
Was that your original choice?
Yes, it was.
Yes, okay.
And look at
You know what's kind of crazy to think? You know what's kind of crazy to think?
performing.
It's kind of crazy to think that on the whole, all four of our picks
Are up there.
were the favorites. Like she broke up with Nate only because he had a kid.
Yeah.
She was completely obsessed with him. That was Jess's.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, my guy, is at the final door. And both of your and Becca's are at the final door. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
We called it.
We
this
called
year.
it just off of the look. All four of us are basically like the most love interest.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
We
Anyway,
nailed it.
so Aven killed it. Did you see that she said like after they had the fantasy suite
He's the
together?
whole package.
She was like, "It was fantastic. He is the
My
whole
guy,
package."
dude. My guy delivering. I've never seen a more perfect bachelor love interest performance on The Bachelorette. This was my choice.
He's blameless. Like
He
he
really
literally
is.
has not done
There's
anything
no
wrong.
fault that I can find with Aven.
Here's one thing that happened though. She didn't say "I love you" to him. And
No,
then
she felt bad about it.
She said, "I wanted to save it. I want to save that for the right person."
Now and then, you know what, later.
Yeah, we'll get into that. That's a problem.
And that's it's you. Although there might be hope for Aven. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
I felt bad for him because it was like the night was perfect. Everything was perfect. But maybe there's just a missing element because she didn't say that "I love you" to him. And it was like, And so, and by the way, I hate to say this, but
She said, "I'm falling in love with you too."
and this might have been a cut thing, like an editing thing. Every comment was about Clayton. Well, this is bad stuff. I don't want to be like Clayton, or this happened to me because of Clayton. It was like
yeah,
Clayton,
and then
Clayton,
she
Clayton,
turned
Clayton,
around and
Clayton.
did all the same things Clayton did, which was that she was like, I don't want to use that word in that way. I want to save it. Gabby held to her guns and hasn't said
all
it to
she had
anyone.
said the whole time was like, "I'm falling in love with you. I'm falling in love with you." But she never said, "I love you."
Nope. And then we see
then what
Rachel
happens next day?
break that rule immediately.
With Tino. So let's talk about Tino.
Okay.
So, what are your vibes on Tino overall? How do you feel about him?
I can't read Tino, but I don't trust Tino.
This is my problem. I feel
He's one of the mega fans.
of what?
The show?
Of our show?
Yeah.
He likes our show?
No, of The Bachelor.
Oh. Yeah,
He's
sorry.
like a Bachelor super fan.
Right. Okay, so he's been following it. My problem with Tino is like
And you know who he's obsessed with?
what?
Tyler Cameron.
That checks out. It's funny we never
were
brought this up
calling
last
him
time.
Fake Tyler.
Or just Tyler 2.0. My
Surprise? No.
No. My thing with Tino is like, I can't tell if he's a Tyler and he's just like, "What's up?" or if he's like super calculated.
No,
like I
he's
can't
not.
figure it out.
He's not
Because
a Tyler.
when they were at dinner together on their date, and he was basically got her from being like, "I don't know if this is going to work out. Your whole family hates me. How do you feel about that?" to like completely getting her to feel completely comfortable. Like he was kind of a wordsmith. He completely said everything that you'd want to hear about that situation. I was kind of blown away. I was kind of blown away how perfect it was.
That's why I don't. This is like what this reminds me of is like in Frozen when Anna's love interest betrays her. Because he's done everything right to that point and she fully believes him, and then he's like, if only someone did love you.
Right.
That's my vibe. Because when not to say that he doesn't love her, but like it was so when he's like, I'm in love. I love you, Rachel. And it's been like, I forget his exact words, but he was like, and I have for a long time.
The way
it was like this, like,
he's like, I've been putting it off. I shouldn't have waited. I shouldn't have waited.
It was dripping like one of those, like a Carl's Jr. commercial, like where you're like, I don't want that kind of cheeseburger. That's too saucy.
Well, here's the problem that I feel.
Too much sauce.
The 2 times that he said he loves her were the times where she was feeling like maybe this isn't going to work out.
She needs reassurance.
Exactly. So he's using the love card as like a reassurance card, because when she goes, your family hates me, he goes, I got to tell you, I'm falling in love with you. And then the next time they talk and she goes, man, I don't know, your family really doesn't have me. And he goes, actually, I love you. Like, he's using that as a way to keep her on board. We got to address
your family. What's your plan? They'll come around.
Yeah, they'll come around.
Here's my elaborate plan that I've really thought of to answer your question. They'll have to. They'll come around. What are they going to do?
But they'll come around. Right. I actually feel like that's the perfect answer, though. Because he could say, well, you're not marrying my parents. You're marrying me and my parents. I don't care what my parents think.
She doesn't want to hear
she doesn't want to hear that because she feels like, well, I don't want to be hated. But then if he goes, no, they love you, then she won't believe that. The perfect thing would say, they'll just give him time. They'll figure it out.
They'll see the you that I see. How can they not?
Dude, and he was like, yeah, when he said they'll fall in love with the woman that I fell in love with, basically, like, perfect wording.
Oh, yeah.
It was literally like, I was like, woof. If someone told me that, I'm like, I guess I'm in.
In all forms of entertainment, you know who we see use perfect wording?
Huh.
Villains.
Villains are very good.
Untrustworthy people. Dracula.
Yeah, but I can't tell if Tino is a villain. Because what has Tino done, really? He's been a little grumpy sometimes when he doesn't get attention. But, like, he hasn't really done anything wrong. And so I wouldn't call him a villain.
No, he's not like a... I'm just pointing out, okay, look, Dracula's not necessarily a villain. He's just cursed.
That's true. Mr. Wayne, I was born in the darkness. My family doesn't like you.
Tino, I think there's a chance Tino's just going for his own Bachelorette.
Bachelorette, yeah. Because I just to see him pushing the love thing when times are getting scary. He was like, he's saving that card to get her back in.
Although... I have my call for who I think the Bachelorette going to.
Feels like Aven to me.
Mine feels like Zach.
Oh, that's true. That's another one. Yeah, either.
Mine feels like Zach just because he's so... I mean, either one.
You know what? It is Zach.
Zach
because
so
it's the heartbreak
believes
thing.
In the process.
Right. He is so down. So real quick, with the Tino thing. Then she says, I love you too.
Mm-hmm.
Right after she just said, "Oh, I'm saving that." Like,
this is my thing. This has been my thing with Rachel all the time. Is she compromises? In my opinion, she compromises on like deals that they've made, like that her and Gabby talk about.
This was both episodes were a tough look for Rachel. It was a tough look.
She also
didn't do anything like inherently bad. It was just like
prior to certain actions we saw Rachel take, I was commenting with Becca and I was like, my thing with Rachel, and Becca Becca really likes this about her, but I was like, Rachel's just like, she's putting on so much airs. She's putting on so many airs to me that it's like borderline fake.
Like you don't know if she's just being nice or if she's actually like being honest.
She does this whole like posture correction and like put on the role and like breathe into who I'm about to be and how I'm about to handle this situation and like, here's what I want. Here's how I'm going to go after it. And like, that's a thing for like business or like job life.
Like
but
sale.
Like,
yeah, right.
This is like not that. And to me, there's like a conflating of like being the role of the Bachelorette and then like remembering like these dudes really fucking care.
Right.
Like, and I don't know. There was like, we were looking at like, some of the, like I was thinking about her attitude going into some of these of like it was like the DJ Khaled like and another one like and another fantasy suite that I'm just about to fucking floss right now.
Right.
Like here we go and I'm about to put this one on and let's do it. And I loved that Zach was like the unexpected of he's like I would love nothing more.
Right.
There's a lot that I would love to be able to go over off camera. Anyway, I mean, I guess we're jumping up into the Zach situation, but
so with that Tino thing, she was just like clearly messed up by the family situation, and she clearly really likes Tino. Like he's kind of the full package to her, in my opinion.
Both her and Gabby are following in the steps of something everyone deals with, which is like when there's a bunch of like when you feel committed, but you see like a bunch of red flags, you just keep going because there's something weird about like.
But when you have a type, it's really hard to like. You know
but
what I mean?
Also
like,
when something feels like you can't have it, you want it even more.
And Tino has a danger to him because he has that like a little unpredictable, a little scary because of the family. There's a little danger.
It's the like her dad and mom are like, you can't have him. And she's like, fuck you, I can't have him. Watch me have him.
So she's feeling like there's forbidden fruit there.
Yeah.
And they have a little bit of a whirlwind love going on.
Gabby's doing the same thing where she's like, you're playing really hard to get, and that makes me want you the most.
It just sucked that, I mean, that she said, I love you to him, like right after she said, I'll save that for someone else. I just was a little bit like, it's a tough look.
For me, unsurprising. This isn't, and it's not
shocking, but just sad. Because she spent the whole episode talking about Clayton. The whole episode was like, I don't want to do anything like him, this, that, and the other. And then did the thing. And I was just like, that's a tough look. Okay, Johnny and Gabby.
I hope that comes out in the next episode. I really hope our hard-hitting journalist and our hard-hitting journalist in question, Asker Jesse, doesn't shy away from that one. Jesse Palmer.
Oh my God, yeah.
He's my eyes on the ground, dude.
His boots.
Yeah. He's my boots on the ground. And whenever we get the interview episodes, I expect him to ask the hard-hitting questions.
He'll say some line like, and tonight's going to be the biggest night of your life.
So, Rachel, you dropped I love you to Tino right after you said you weren't going to do it.
Why'd you do that? Anyway, I have a new show coming out. Okay, so Johnny...
No, he'll go like straight into an ad where he'd be like, and everyone gets free hot dogs from Wiener Schnitzel. Bring out platters
everyone
of
gets
hot dogs for
Costco
everybody.
chicken bakes.
That would be sick.
That would be sick. God, I love those chicken bakes. Anyway, Johnny and Gabby. Gabby's always had the major hots for Johnny. They're on the beach having a blast, blah, blah, blah. And then he just straight up is just like, I'm not ready. And she's like, what? And I think that Johnny was the last guy in line. Like, I think between everybody, he was the last one. But she always had the most hots for him. And it was so strange. The only thing that was kind of strange to me was just how, like, unemotional the breakup was for him. Like, it was just kind of like, yeah, and I just, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not going to be there. And then she's like, starts crying, and she's like, okay. And then she was really sweet. She just hugged him, and they said bye. But he was even made a crack at the end. He goes, there goes my girl.
Yeah.
And it was just like, that's almost like if you're breaking up with someone and you really don't care about them and you just want to make them feel good by saying a little cute thing at the end. Like, it was kind of weird to me how not emotionally attached he was to her.
Well, I don't think she ever really took him seriously either.
So maybe it just was a part, like it was just a vibe.
Yeah. And I think it might have been apparent that like he was just like a good time.
Yeah. Cause it was weirdly for him, especially, he definitely didn't have that, like, I'm so sorry to tell you, this is so hard for me, blah, blah, blah. It was just kind of like, I'm just not there. And she was like, I need a second. And she came back and he was like, all right, bye. And it was just weird. I don't know. Compared to everybody else's relationship, which is like heavy, definitely felt like he wasn't really an open book, allowed them to get to that level.
No. I think it was also for her. She's like, wait, like, you're seriously doing this now? Like, you're not going to ride this out?
Right. You're not going to at least see, but I guess there's not much of a ride out.
It was in my mind. It was my mind is she was literally like, you're literally not going to try to pursue me all the way into fantasy suites. That was like the vibe I was getting, because Gabby was making jokes the whole time of like what fantasy suites are. And she's like, yeah, aside from like chasing each other around naked, like we do get an opportunity to like talk about things.
Yeah, you're
off
sitting
camera.
there for like 10 hours.
But she's fully acknowledging like, we're going to go and have sex with each other. And then we're going to have like heart to hearts.
But I guess, in that way, I would respect him a lot, because
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
He's kind of going like, I'm not gonna have sex with you, and then maybe getting more emotionally attached, and then pull the
and
rug.
also just like get the vibe that like you're not gonna marry me at the end of this.
And I think
I don't really want to stick
Right.
around here for that. Like if I do that, then I'm stuck here doing this thing for like, you know, and then like what am I just gonna walk myself off and like look like
Right.
that asshole? Like no, like now's the appropriate time.
I definitely feel like they both weren't that serious, and he knew it, and he was kind of like, I'm not going to go there. And she's like, I totally understand. Like, you know what I mean? It felt very appropriate. It didn't feel like a shocking, like, it just felt like they kind of reached the limit of their relationship. You could almost tell he knew too, like she had more serious connections, and he was just kind of like, all right, we should probably call this.
Even when she was like, even when he said the thing of like, there goes my girl, she's like, stop it. It wasn't like
that's weird or like that's a rude thing to say.
It wasn't like what we see later,
which is way more intense.
Yeah.
So then we get into Jason. You know,
this one really disappointed me.
This was a brutal one.
Really upset me
because he was like amazing.
I also really like him.
That's what I mean. He was amazing all the way through. The only thing you could say about him, the only thing you could be critique about him is that he just was rather one-dimensional. You know what I mean? Like he was dimensional in his ability to connect. So he had amazing talks about therapy. They had a lot of connection, but he wasn't like high range of dynamic range of emotion. It was kind of one lane.
He was also just like, I've never once gotten over the cameras and microphones.
Yeah, you can almost just tell he like never got comfortable.
Once felt comfortable. And Gabby wanted him. She's like, please. I loved when she was like, you really can't just like pretend for half a moment that like this is a thing. And then even when they were like able to like get there, she's like, thank God you just like met me halfway. Let's like, don't kill this right now, you idiot. Like we're about to go into a room where it's just us and it's fully private and like this whole thing. And what bothered me, I'm sorry if I'm jumping forward, but what bothered me was like they focused on that conversation instead of taking that opportunity to just like have fun and realize like for him what I really hoped would have happened was the takeaway that like, yes, there's all these distractions that are happening on the show, but Gabby is shining like that. Whatever the Gabby is, you're going to see off the set is shining through like so many of those things.
You definitely feel with Gabby that you're just getting exactly what Gabby's like. You're not getting any sort of performance.
Like that was your chance to just realize that and give over to it.
Gabby did like corner him and say like, are you ready for an engagement? So he would have had to have lied through his teeth.
Yeah. And he wasn't willing to do that. But he was like, I can see us, dude, his words were so wild when he was like, I could see us like hanging out after this.
That was wild. Like, she's literally like, you're going to propose to me next week, right? He's like, I could totally see us like being homies. It was weirdly relaxed. It was like so relaxed.
Something that could like become a serious relationship.
And she's going, you know, we're supposed to be engaged in a week.
But then I also love where I'm like, dude, you are really overthinking the term engagement because that might as well mean that you're boyfriend and girlfriend.
Now, tell me,
for all the commitment that actually is coming off of a show like this, you might as well just be like, it's sort of like a safety deposit on like, well, if I end up dating this girl and it does turn out to be cool, like I just got a free engagement ring.
Well, my whole thing was, and we'll get into more of the Jason situation, but my whole thing was, if I was in Jason's situation, well, first of all, I know that I feel like I'd fall in love harder than Jason. I think Jason's very guarded, right? So he's very technical. You could tell he's very analytical, and he's not kind of leading with his heart. He's kind of leading more with his head. He's kind of thinking about all the thing. And we also got to remember too that he's been stuck in a hotel for a week grinding on this. Right, they said they got there and he was there for a week by himself.
Loved his interview when he was like, "Yeah, like I'm just really curious how she's gonna react to me saying this." And he's like kind of smiling about it, like, "Can't believe I'm doing this."
Right. It's like this whole thing was just kind of a surprise to him.
I think that's where he's like, how am I still here?
Right. So I think this whole thing just kind of took on a life of its own a little bit. But the one thing, if I was him, more to your point, I would have just gone all in. Because at the end of the day, you get engaged. Look at 99, like at the end of the day, you get engaged and you just figure it out later. You start dating basically. So it's like get engaged and then go back to your house, slowly make the relationship work. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And we've seen many not. And so no pressure, but just go all the way and really make this for what it's worth. But what are you going to get out of this if you quit now? You're just going to go home. But it's like, just at least you could go home and that's the thing too. Like for Jason, if you really, 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 really like Gabby, then just go for it. Now, but if you're like, I don't really like her that much, then I understand you. Like for Jason, you know, it kind of seems like not Jason, but Johnny. It seems like he kind of felt like I don't think we have a really strong connection. Like maybe we should cut this thing off. But Jason and her had like a really strong connection, and I'm like, wait, so the thing that's causing you not to be with possibly your wife one day is that there's like a engagement word and it's the end of the show? Like, it's a little strange. It was just like, for him to be so blunt about like not being ready, and then also not even not being ready, but then just to be like, we could be hanging out. Very weird.
Not to use
just too serious.
Just
I was like, bro, just chill, just have fun, enjoy your time, and if it comes to that, propose to her, and then just like figure it out later.
That was my thing. Was like, but I love that he never caved.
He didn't at all.
I do
He
love
was
that
rock
he is
solid.
never. I love that he's like, yo, like this quickly got to the point where like this is where we're at right now, and like, here we are.
But my grievance with him is that he waited this long.
Yeah.
It's like, man, you could have done this before hometowns and been like, I'm not ready for this. I don't care who you are. I'm not ready for this.
I think it also points, what I think it points more to is this season more than ever, like so much time that they were supposed to be spending, like they canceled so many cocktail parties.
That's true.
We like fast tracked to fantasy suites for both of them. Like, obviously, in any season of The Bachelor, the amount of like quantifiable time that any contestant is spending with the other is like less than 2 days total.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, if that's the normal amount, they spent significantly less than that on this one.
Yeah.
And it's like, how are you supposed to
No,
buy
that's
into
true.
that?
There's very little time in general. But another thing that weirded me out was the same thing with Johnny. They broke up, right? So they spent all night talking, everything. And then she's bawling. She's connected with him, all this stuff. She goes back to the room to say goodbye to him. And he's just like, yeah, so I guess this is it, right? And yeah, this is it. And then he leaves. Didn't show any emotion. No crying, no tears, no like even, like you could tell that she had been crying for hours. She was very torn.
He's like,
and he's just like, yeah, so, all right, well, it was really nice meeting you. Like, it was weirdly
for
like
him
unconnected
again,
to the emotion of it.
Because I bet part of their thing was for him was like the cameras and the this, like it's hard for me to like trust anything that's being said, like with those present would be like something that, I mean, that would be a thought going through my head at least. And then it's like, okay, like we hashed this all out.
Yeah, but
it's sort of the same thing.
I understand
of like,
that.
It's not dissimilar to me of like Eric doing it, where he's like, the look on his face when she's like in his apartment and then she walks in, it's like there's a camera already in his apartment. His door latch,
right?
Like his door wasn't actually shut. She knocks on an open door, and he just opened it, and the door latch was stayed shut, and he closed it on the door latch, and they're like, the whole thing looked staged to me.
I understand that, but here's...
And then he comes in, but I'm just explaining like in his mind, and then he sits down, and then for him, it was probably like, dude, this is exactly what I'm talking about,
right.
Of like, I don't give a shit about any of this anymore, and like, I'm just ready to go home.
But she's probably like, hey, you signed up for this. This is what this is.
Yeah.
Would you have to be okay with the process at some point? I
think that's fair
like,
too.
That's my criticism of Jason and Eric, which is like, hey, you signed up for the show. This is the way the show works. Now all of a sudden you're not cool with the show.
I think
so. Jason going like, I don't like all the cameras. I'm like, why are you on the show then? Eric going like, hey, I want to talk about this again. It's really hard for me. I'm jealous. It's like, this is the show. Like, date a person in a normal world then.
Part of me is like, it's obvious to me that he doesn't watch the show. And
that's on him then.
It's a thing to me though, where he's like, we haven't really gotten much of an opportunity to go as much into this. And also, I think he's like a victim of his own fault, which was like, she's clearly into the strong silent type. And he's sort of like, to me, it was always like, he's like, yeah, like, can't believe we're here doing this.
I guess for me though, it's like Gabby's done nothing wrong. Gabby has followed. She's doing the show. She's being a great bachelorette. She's doing the process. It's the guys that are dropping the ball.
Have you ever seen guys though who are like, they don't realize that like it's a girl's like just completely head over heels for him?
Yeah,
and they're just sort of like, yeah, like whatever, you know, again, like sort of.
That's kind of on him not being aware, because
she fought so hard. She made so many opportunities. She should have cut him out that first night, but she's like, I'm going to give him another chance. They spent all night together. Give him another chance. Meet him again in his hotel. Another chance. I thought she nailed it. She said, "You led me on." And he's like, yeah.
He's like, sorry. But I felt like she nailed it. She said, "You led me on." And I'm like, that's exactly what he did. He brought her right to the very end and was just like, by the way, I'm like not down for this.
Which I don't fault like if you need that to like, I do think it helped round out that series for her. But it's also like that there was just I'm just pointing out that last interaction, that whole thing that it was very performative.
But it was probably closure for her. Like, I need to get off my chest that maybe I was too nice. Probably what happened, because she's kind of shown that she's been really, really nice.
Well, and
she probably was too nice.
I bet producers made it happen too, where she was just like, no, like, fuck that.
But she needed to kind of get something off my chest. Like, you kind of
and they let her do that. Yeah. They totally let it. And they're like, oh yeah, that's actually better for story.
But even still, if I'm being honest with you, like, it was the nicest get off your chest ever. Like, she was just like, I totally understand this, and I totally understand this, and I wish you the best. Basically,
well, that's her thing.
But I just do feel like you led me. Like, it was like so not.
She never gets like. She never gets like to the point where she's like gonna blow up.
If I'm being honest with you, like I really do like both of them. I just feel like. Rachel's struggling because she is so. Like, I feel like what's going on a little bit is that Gabby isn't that attached to the Clayton thing as much. And Rachel seems to be a lot more connected to the trauma of Clayton because of how much she talks about it, how much she's scared to be Clayton. You know what I mean? Which leads us into Zach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where she's got this thing with like Aven and Tino and Zach where she doesn't want to be Clayton. Clayton, you know, hurt me and I don't want to be Clayton. Like, everything she says is Clayton, Clayton. And then she starts to kind of, instead of just following her heart and doing what she feels is right, even if there's moments that are Clayton-ish, it's like, it starts to become this don't be a Clayton, you know? So then the Zach thing happens. You know?
Dude, the Zach thing
they're hanging out, the male couple. The Best Foods mayonnaise couple is hanging out. By the way, the conversations they were having
Barbie
were just
and Ken.
The conversations they were having were unbelievable.
Which, after the fact, after we find out what we find out, were so cringy to me. Like the one that they showed over the edits, I was like,
it was so
dude, why are you
forced.
guys showing this right now?
It was brutally like forced. Their conversations, like there wasn't like, the banter was like so brutal. So they're having a good day together. Everything's cool.
It looks like they're having a marvelous date. For who these two are, for Barbie and Ken.
Yeah.
They just look like they're having a hilarious date, trying on funny hats, trying on funny outfits. But there were moments where she was asking him like some history questions. And she's like, I love history. I just like don't know the dates.
She said, she goes, is that Renaissance? And then he goes, I don't know. And she goes, I love history. I'm just not good with like timelines. And I'm like,
time periods.
I'm like, isn't that what history is?
That's what I was thinking the whole time. Trust me. But then I was also like, okay.
I love geography. I just don't like know where places are.
I tried to be in that thing where I'm like, okay, like someone can really like fantasy without having to know a bunch of lore.
That's true. Like I like Lord of the Rings.
Someone can like learning about history without needing to know that, like, you know, this time period preceded this time period. If I'm being honest with you, I kind of feel like that's me. Shift.
I love hearing about history, but I don't know a lot about it, if I'm being honest.
Well, and that for me is like where I have a couple friends who are like history majors or minors, and one of my best friends is getting his doctorate in history.
Whoa.
So like, yeah, from Harvard.
Dang.
Yeah.
Killing it.
Serious biz. So a lot of that stuff comes up where I was hearing that and I was sort of like,
Right. I just don't know about time periods. That was really funny.
I was dying.
But I do feel like
I was
there-
also like, I understand what she's saying because it's also like
100%.
there are things where, like for instance, with bands, I will love a band. I will never fucking look up the name of a single person in that band.
Right, that's true.
Like,
and when you actually think about our podcast is like talking a lot about something we know very little of.
most of our listeners probably don't even know our names.
That's true, but I even mean just me and
Like,
you.
dude-
be going on and on about something about how we know all about it, and reality is we barely know anything about it. Like
I know everything about everything I talk about.
at least the amount that I talk about.
And I'm brutally honest. Like, look, what I was thinking about this entire time was how I listen to Sugar Ray and how I know lots of Sugar Ray songs. I don't know a single name of a single person in the band.
That's very
Not
common.
the first or even last name. I don't know a single name. But that to me was similar to her thing of like, I love history. I couldn't tell you anything about it. It's like, I love Sugar Ray. I couldn't tell you who's in the band.
Right. I know a lot about small random things and I don't know the other things about those things.
I
Just
think
the one fact that I've learned.
My only favorite band that I know the first names of everyone in the band is Blink-182
Oh wow, okay, nice.
and the Grateful Dead.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I do
Grateful
know
Dead.
everyone's name in the Grateful
all
Dead.
the different people that were there.
Yes.
Okay, so
I think I know the first and last name of everyone.
damn,
So that probably supersedes it.
that's pretty good. So this is the funniest
Thanks.
line
Go.
to me in Bachelorette Nation history. Post fantasy suites. Waking up in the morning and looking over awkwardly at the person you just spent all night with and going, good cup of joe. Dude, when he literally, she's sitting there like this and she won't even look at him. And he's kind of looking over like, do you like me still? And she goes, hey. And he goes, it's a good cup of joe.
She's like,
Like,
is it?
it's the worst. It's like the most awkward line. It's like you trying to drum up an ounce of chemistry after whatever the fuck just happened.
Well, and then, dude, there's so many things to me that color in on that when she's like, is it though? And he's like, well, I like it like this. And she's like, isn't it bitter? Because it's just black coffee
Right.
and they didn't have like anything. And he's like, I like it like this.
yeah.
And when you think about what their conversation was like, when he's like, dude, it feels like really out of pocket for her to be like calling me young. Then it's like, are you like, it's like, oh, of course you like your coffee black because like you're so mature, you know?
Yeah,
kind
it
of a
almost just
thing.
felt like, you know when someone gives you the ick now, like everything he does is annoying? It was
Dude,
just like, that was the
thought
vibe.
I was, when he went into his one-on-one the next day, I was like, wait, what the fuck? What was their fantasy suite like?
They just fought all
And it
night.
was also like, why is she bringing that stuff up?
Well, this is what I think.
Okay.
I think she, over some time, stopped liking him. So she got with Tino, had a great time. Got with Aven, had a great time. Really liking them. They're checking a lot of boxes. I think she gets with Zach, and she's just kind of like, no, it's not it. No, he's not on their level from the connection.
Yeah.
That's
I
why
can
they
see
didn't
that.
hook up. And they spent all night talking and getting, remember he said, got into religion and politics.
Tino's conversation, it'd be like, she'd be like, who did you vote for, Tino? And he'd be like, well, who did you vote for?
Well, who didn't we vote for?
and then
really?
that's what I was thinking of
Yeah,
also.
yeah, yeah.
And then he'd be like, crazy. That's exactly who I voted for.
And I love you. You know that, right?
And I love you.
But it is a wild move that instead of just telling him straight up, like, hey, I'm so sorry to do this to you, but like the connection's just not there.
I'm just going to drag you through this.
She started going like, you're too young to get engaged. And he's going, if you actually look at it, I'm more ready than anyone on this show to get engaged. I've told you from day one, I'm connected with you. I'm falling in love with you. I'm ready to get
here
engaged.
for you.
I'm here all the way. I am the premier
Also,
contestant.
I'm a couple of months younger than you.
Literally months. He even said to Jesse, he's like, she's 26. She's like 3 months older than me. Like, I don't know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
So that's where she got caught up in her own freak out, where she doesn't want to be Clayton so bad that she can't just be honest. She's trying to make it like Zach's problem now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a brutal.
Which is called Gaslighting.
I don't know if that's gaslighting.
Okay.
I don't know, but I just didn't like
It
that
might
she
be
was
soft gaslighting. You can say whatever you want.
I just felt like she was terrified to be the bad guy, and instead of just standing up for like, "Hey, I don't like you anymore," she then made it like a him problem.
She's like
And it was just
deflecting.
like,
She's deflecting to something that's like not even being brought up. Of like, it's not pertinent. None of it is pertinent. She's dancing around the truth.
She just needs to be honest and be like, "Hey, to be honest with you, I have more serious connections with other guys."
I'm gonna look this up right now.
So I don't know. So it was a tough one because I just felt like if she just would have been like, "Hey, I'm being honest with you. After spending this 24 hours with you, I realized I have stronger connections with other guys. I'm so sorry to do this to you." It would have been a tough moment, but it would have been over. You don't have to choose him, but at least respect the fact that he like
gaslighting happens when someone tries to control another person by twisting their sense of reality. I'd be like, well, A, The Bachelor gaslights everybody, but B, that's absolutely what seemed to be happening.
I would say
there.
she like because gaslighting can be loaded, like it's a lot heavier and like
Which to me would be like, oh, actually, you're too young for this. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I just She's
like, no. Like, you're too young. You've been too young this whole time. I've been too young this whole time. I'm too young to get married to you, yet you came to my hometowns, met my mom and dad, loved them. They loved you. You then kept me on to take me to fantasy suites, even though I'm too young. Apparently this whole time to be like, to me, that'd be like,
well, clearly I think clearly it wasn't even like it was probably less of an age thing and more of a mentality thing. They probably had a bunch of conversations. She was probably pressing him for details that she knew she wasn't going to like. She got the answer she didn't like and then goes, well, you haven't grown up yet and realized the error of your ways.
You know what? I'm not going to back down from my word.
Okay.
I think it's just an example of the spectrum of gaslight.
Okay.
Light has a spectrum. Why can't the gaslight have a spectrum?
So what do we, let's make some final calls because we saw a lot of drama there at the end. What do we say happens?
I think Rachel walks away on her own. At least that's what I hope happens.
Rachel walks away on her own.
Not Rachel. Gabby walks away on her own.
You think so Eric shits the bed.
Yes.
Okay.
I think he shat the bed already.
But he kind of got her back and then you see it blow out again. So
I think my guess is we're going to see more flare up, more insecurity flare up, and Gabby's going to walk away on her own, strength and conviction. I think, well, that's it for Gabby. Okay. I think Rachel wants to be with Tino more than anything.
Yeah.
And I think Rachel's going to end up leaving the show by herself because...
You think both will walk away?
I think Rachel, while she loves Aven, I think we pointed out clear as day that she was hesitant to even say that she's falling in love with Aven. And the moment it presented herself, she jumped all over saying that she's fully in love with Tino. And I think we're going to see Tino's facade crumble. And he's going to try to fabricate a Bachelorette for himself and try to walk off in some power control situation, try to play the victim when we're going to see another spectrum of light in the gas light. And then that's going to be it. Both girls are going to be by themselves. And this whole double Bachelorette thing, while it was been very entertaining for us, isn't going to result in a single engagement for the franchise. Neil Lane is going to be extremely disappointed.
Client loss.
And I think Aven and Zach, depending on how they play their cards, are going to be duking it out for the Bachelorette.
Okay. I think that Gabby goes home.
Or we get two bachelors and we get Aven and Zach as bachelors.
Okay. I like this. I like all this. I say Gabby goes home. I say Rachel with Tino. They'll figure it out.
Trust the process.
I trust the process.
They're going to cave eventually.
Someone's going to cave.
I think Rachel really...
I think Tino's going to panic and then panic. He's going to panic. They're going to have a fight. Something's going to go down and then he will end up proposing to her. But Gabby will go home. Mm-hmm. Because she already can't trust Eric. And then when Eric shits the bed again, she's not going to bring him back and then it's going to be over.
I think Gabby's going on to be like Bachelor royalty in the way that like Becca, what's her face is?
Kufrin.
Whatever her last name is, the Becca that's not my Becca.
You're like Becca Martinez. Right. I think...
The blacklist.
Yeah. We got a lit one next week. Next week's gonna be lit. Let's go.
Like heavy metal lit.
Heavy
you
metal
guys.
lit.
Like Hail Satan. Lit.
Chat soon. Yeah.